People watched in shock as a series of events unfolded, seeming almost apocalyptic. What are these events? Why should we worry? Could they signal the end of the world? The answers are as mysterious as the events themselves, leaving people to ponder what challenges lie ahead. Let's explore what's been happening. The Jerusalem temple is super important in Old Testament predictions. Many people who study the Bible have wondered when they'll rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, since the second one was destroyed in AD 70, and now there isn't any temple there. People believe they have to rebuild the temple because the Bible says sacrifices will stop in the end times, Daniel 12:11. So, when are they going to build the third temple, and what does the Bible say about it? To understand the third temple, we should look at the first two. King David of Israel started building the first permanent temple to God. He wanted to make a grand temple for God, but before that, there was a tent for the Ark of the Covenant. It's written in 2 Samuel 7:2. Zion, which is another name for Jerusalem, is the city that God picked. The Bible says that God wanted to live there, Psalm 132:13. God promised that his name would be there forever, 2 Kings 21:7, 2 Chronicles 33:7. The Jewish people were sent to Babylon for 70 years, but later on, King Cyrus allowed them to return to Jerusalem and start rebuilding the temple. This was already predicted by God long before Cyrus was even born. Isaiah 44:28 contains God's prophecy, saying, "Cyrus is my shepherd, and he will carry out all my plans. He will say to Jerusalem, you will be rebuilt, and to the temple, your foundation will be laid." Once they got back, the Jews began working on rebuilding the temple. However, they faced challenges from the locals, and there wasn't a strong commitment from the Jewish community, which slowed down the project. God encouraged them through the prophet Haggai. He received a message from the Lord, asking, "Is it right for you to be living in luxurious houses while my temple lies in ruins?" Haggai 1:3-4. Now, what about a third temple? Considering how important temples were to the ancient Israelites, especially the Jews who are part of Israel, many have looked to the Bible for guidance on the possibility of a third temple. Although the biblical texts aren't always as clear as we'd like them to be, there are 3 clues in the Bible that suggest the possibility of another temple. The first 2 temples were significant both in their physical and symbolic forms, so some people believe there might be a third temple in the future. Let's discuss the concept of exile and the return of scattered communities. The Hebrew word galut is used to describe both the abstract idea of exile, like in the 37th year of Jehoiakim's exile, Jeremiah 52:31, and the concrete term exiles, galuti, Isaiah 45:13. In the Bible, God gathering the dispersed Israelites is often described with the word kibez or gathers, see Jeremiah 29:14, Ezekiel 11:17, Isaiah 56:8, and Psalm 106:47. However, the phrase kibbutz galuyot, the ingathering of the exiles, doesn't appear until later rabbinic literature, like P.S. 88a. Still, the hope for the return of scattered communities is mentioned many times in the Bible, especially in the predictions of Isaiah 11:12, Jeremiah 16:15, Ezekiel 20:34, 41, 37, 21, and Deuteronomy 30:3-5. In Deuteronomy, after describing the destruction and exile in detail, the Lord promises to bring back the people from all the nations where he scattered them. Essentially, if any of your people are scattered all over, the Lord your God will find them and bring them back to the land where your ancestors lived. This concept of the ingathering of the exiles has its core philosophy, but it evolved over time and place. For example, Isaiah mentions, "A great shofar shall be blown and they shall come that are lost in the land of Assyria and they that are dispersed in the land of Egypt," Isaiah 27:13. Jeremiah also predicted the exile of Judah and the return of the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the countries whither he had driven them, Jeremiah 16:15, 23:8. Ezekiel, in chapters 20, 34 and 41, says, "I will bring you out from the peoples and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered." He also mentions the ingathering of the exiles of the two kingdoms in chapter 37, 19, 22-25. Considering the widespread dispersion of the Jews, the ingathering extends to places like Tarshish, Pul, Lud, Tubal, and Javan, Isaiah 66, 19, in the final chapter of Isaiah. The Talmud understands the ingathering of the exiles as the universal return of all exiles. It doesn't consider the return following Cyrus' declaration as the ingathering of the exiles. According to some interpretations, Isaiah 45:1 can be translated as God said to his anointed concerning Cyrus, highlighting that Cyrus' role was different from the broader ingathering of the exiles. When the ingathering of the exiles occurs, judgment will be brought upon the wicked. This idea has a messianic aspect, emphasizing the significance of the event. The concept is based on Isaiah 27:13 and includes a special blessing: sound the great shofar for our freedom, and raise the ensign to gather our exiles from the four corners of the earth, some add to our land. Then, it concludes with blessed art thou, O Lord, who gatherest the dispersed of thy people Israel. Ben Sirah 36:11 also mentions gathering all the tribes of Jacob together, and this concept is echoed in prayers and rituals, such as the new moon prayer and the holiday Musaf Amidah. The final conflict between human governments and God known as the Battle of Armageddon. This battle happens because these governments and their supporters continue to oppose God's authority over the world, Psalm 2:2. After Armageddon, human authority over the world will come to an end, Daniel 2:44. The term Armageddon only appears in Revelation 16:16 in the Bible. In the book of Revelation, it describes a place called Armageddon where the kings of the entire inhabited earth gather for the war of the great day of God the Almighty, Revelation 16:14. During Armageddon, the enemies of God will be defeated by a heavenly army led by Jesus Christ, Revelation 19:11-16, 19:21. These are the ones who reject God's authority. Now, where will the actual Battle of Armageddon take place? It won't be confined to a single location, it will happen globally, Jeremiah 25:32-34, Ezekiel 39:17-20. The name Armageddon comes from the Hebrew phrase Har Megiddon, which literally means mountain of Megiddo. Megiddo was an ancient city in Israel, and several important battles, mentioned in the Bible, took place there, Judges 5:19-20, 2 Kings 9:27-23-29. However, Armageddon isn't a literal reference to that region because there isn't a significant mountain there, and even the entire low plain of Jezreel near Megiddo wouldn't be large enough to hold all the people involved. Instead, Armageddon symbolizes a global rebellion against God's dominion. During the Battle of Armageddon, we can expect various extreme conditions. While we don't know exactly how God will use his power, we know he has used things like hail, earthquakes, floods, fire, sulfur, lightning, and diseases in the past, Job 38:22-23, Ezekiel 38:19-22, Habakkuk 3:10-11, Zechariah 14:12. Some of God's enemies may end up fighting each other due to the confusion, but eventually, they will realize that God is fighting against them, Ezekiel 38:21-23, Zechariah 14:13. Is Armageddon the end of the world? No, because Earth is meant to be mankind's eternal home, Psalm 37:29-96-10, Ecclesiastes 1:4. A great crowd of God's servants will survive Armageddon, so it doesn't mean the end of the world, Revelation 7:9-14, Psalm 37:34. The word world in this context refers not only to the physical planet but also to an evil human culture hostile to God, 1 John 2:15-17. So, Armageddon marks the end of this hostile human culture. As for when the end of this world, in the sense of this evil culture, will occur, Jesus said that no one knows the exact day and hour, except the Father, Matthew 24:36. Armageddon is depicted in the Bible to occur during Jesus' enigmatic appearance in 1914, Matthew 24:37-39. These prophetic events serve as a reminder that we live in uncertain times, and it's important to cherish our loved ones, make the most of each day, and be prepared for whatever comes our way. That's a wrap for today's video. We'll be back with more content soon, so stay tuned. Please remember to show your support by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching.